Thank you all for coming. I'm here with Congressman Nadler in front of 26 Federal Plaza. We just went in to conduct our constitutional oversight authority of ICE and ICE detention facilities. We were denied access. Previously, even though we are allowed to show up unannounced by statute and we must be allowed in, we gave advance notice that we would be coming this morning, and they still denied our access. They said that this is not being used this is not a detention facility, even though the statute very clearly says that we are allowed in if to any facility that is being used to detain or otherwise house aliens. And the deputy, I'll let you go in 1 second. They said, the deputy field director said that there are people who have been staying there for 2 nights or more after they have been processed, sleeping on benches and on the floor. We are very concerned about what conditions these immigrants are being held in while this mass deportation scheme is underway. We observed the courtroom before that, where the government is trying to dismiss their cases. These are nonviolent, non-criminal immigrants going through the proper process. The government is trying to dismiss the cases. We observed 2 cases where the respondent, the immigrant, rejected the government's motion to dismiss it and moved ahead with their asylum claim. So they were not arrested by the numerous federal agents in masks who were waiting outside of the courtroom. And those federal agents are not just ICE agents, they were numerous FBI agents. These are people whose responsibility and job duties is to investigate serious crimes. And they're being pulled away from investigating serious crimes so that they can arrest nonviolent, non-criminal immigrants going through the lawful legal process so that they can be deceptively removed in an expedited fashion. And the question is, why can't we go in? What are they hiding? If they're going to treat Controller Lander, if they're going to treat Senator Padilla, if they're going to treat Congresswoman McIver the way that these agents have been treating them, as if it's a police state out in the open in the public, how are they treating immigrants behind closed doors who have to sleep on floors for multiple nights? This is unacceptable. It is unacceptable that they denied our access, and we will be continuing to push for access with the executives at the Department of Homeland Security because they are violating the law. And we will not stop until we get to go in and observe what is going on in these detention centers with these non-criminal, non-violent immigrants going through the process the correct way. And the question for everybody to ask is not only what are they hiding with the masks, but what are they hiding about this facility that they are using to house immigrants for multiple days? Congressman Nadler.
We first observed the courtroom where we saw 2 cases, and in both cases the government moved to dismiss the case, and had the government dismissed the case and they walked out, they would have immediately been seized by ICE officers and deported from the country under expedited removal. But these 2 people had apparently been advised, and they objected to dismissing the case, and so court dates were set for some time in the future. Of course, if they had not been advised, that had they not had an attorney who told them to do that, they would have been deported on the spot. Number 1. Number 2, they told us, the deputy field director told us that the 10th floor was not a detention facility. Yes, people are detained there. Yes, they stay there for 1 or 2 nights or 3 nights, staying, sleeping on the floor on benches. But they're not. But it's not a detention center. They are detained, but it's not a detention center because they don't choose to define it as a detention center. Well, this is ridiculous. If people are detained there, it's a detention center, and under the statute, we have absolute right under section, what was it, 547?
527.
527 to inspect detention centers, a right that was denied to us. And we can only wonder what they are hiding in these detention centers, or in this detention center, that they would deny us our absolute legal right to inspect it. Second of all, or third of all, ICE agents and FBI agents were wearing masks. No identifying feature, just the word ICE or the word FBI on their accoutrements. What are they hiding? If normally you assume a police officer, an FBI person, has an identification. If he misbehaves, you can complain about him. You can file a report. But these people are wearing masks and are totally unidentified. And the question is why? The question is why? It's completely improper. And again, one has to assume they're hiding something, or they're hiding misbehavior, because otherwise, why would they be wearing masks and denying their identities?
We'll take some questions.
What recourse is there now? Would you sue? Like, what can you do now that you've been denied?
Well, I'm on the Homeland Security Committee. Oh, sorry. I'm on the Homeland Security Committee, which has direct oversight authority of the Department of Homeland Security. And I am going to go back to our committee. I'm going to speak to the Republicans. I am going to ask them to make a joint request that the Department of Homeland Security and Secretary Noem direct this office to allow us to inspect it under this authority, because it is being used to house illegal immigrants, which is what the law requires.
We don't know.
The answer is that we will start by escalating it up through the top. The nice gentleman from the ERO here was given orders from above him not to allow us in. He did not have the authority to do it, so we will continue to go up the chain, and we will get answers as to why, first of all, the Secretary and the Department of Homeland Security so improperly interprets this law to prevent us from doing our constitutional oversight. And two, if the Republicans do not agree to join us in this request, why they are complicit in helping this administration violate the law.
I want to point out that these immigrants who are held there may be legal immigrants. They may be documented. We don't know. We don't know whether they're documented or undocumented because we're not permitted to see it. So these may be legal immigrants. We have seen that ICE deported legal immigrants and deported American citizens.
And just to interject really quickly, folks who are showing up to come to this building are showing up to immigration court. They're showing up to actually fight for their cases, to do the steps that they have been told to do. So regardless of their status in this moment, they are following the process. They are working to abide by the laws and abide by the process set by the U.S. government.
And let's be clear about one thing. Asylum is a lawful pathway to immigrate to the United States. It is not an illegal entry. It is not an illegal way of seeking residency here. It is lawful. And these people are making asylum claims that the government is trying to prevent them from making so that they can quickly deport them before they can make their official asylum claim. And I would add, and I say this to the president, if you have a problem with our immigration system, we observed one court case in there where the judge set the asylum hearing for August 16th, 2029, more than 4 years from today. If you want to fix our immigration system, let's fix our asylum processing system. That's how we do it. Not to deceive people, to trick immigrants going through the proper process so that you can boot them out with minimal due process under questionable legal authority. That's how we must address this issue, is we have to streamline the asylum system so that people who have legitimate claims can get them adjudicated, and the majority of those who apply for asylum and are denied do not stay here for 4+ years while they wait for their case to be decided.
Representatives Nadler and Goldman, what if your Republican colleagues deny your request? What if the head of the agencies deny your request? What recourse do you or other Democrats have to observe what is going on here, or are you?
If they refuse our lawful request to exercise our rights as members of Congress here, and if our Republican colleagues in the majority refuse to do anything about it, we will have to wait till we get a Democratic majority in 2028, which I'm confident we will.
2026.
26, I'm sorry, in 2026, which I'm confident we will. If the Republicans refuse to enforce the right, they are complicit in this, but I'm not sure there's much we can do about it.
I would just add, by the way, I do think there may be, and we'll have to consult with lawyers, but there may be intermediate action because it is very clear from the plain language of the statute that the Department of Homeland Security is violating the law. And I am not prepared to wait until January of 2027 to make this administration follow the law.
Actually, what we should do, as I think about it, is go to court. We should be the plaintiffs to enforce our right, and the court will hopefully enforce our right to do these inspections.
Yeah.
So we don't have to wait till 2027. We can file a lawsuit as soon as the lawyers can draw up papers properly.
Congressman, a lot of politicians are using this moment to talk, but courts are not going to help migrants. Are you going to secure money to bring lawyers to the migrants? That is the only way that they're going to be helped so that the cases are not dismissed.
Can we introduce Harold Solis from Make the Road, who's an attorney, the head of the legal department, who can answer that question.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. This question that you've just asked, are we going to get more support here for the folks who are going through this process inside this building, strikes at the very core of what's going on here. The question is, everything that you've just heard, all the problems that have just been shared with you all, ultimately boil down to two questions. Who are we and what are we becoming? Since when did we allow, since when did we concede, since when did we accept a scenario where people are showing up to court and are suddenly being tricked, quickly arrested, detained, and rendered disconnected from the world that they knew without any semblance of due process? The lack of lawyers, the lack of an ability to be heard, the lack of notice. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand that these are basic principles that we all share. All those principles are being eroded in real time. It's been weeks since this campaign has started where people are suddenly being detained while attending their immigration court hearings. It's been weeks since folks have been shipped off to places like Texas and Louisiana without any process, without any ability to seek legal recourse because oftentimes they're unable to even communicate with their loved ones. We're grateful for the congressmen for being here, both of them, and to help us shed some light on what's going on here, and not just here, but across the country.
There are some conservatives who say visits like yours and Landers yesterday are political stunts. What do you say to that?
They are not political stunts. They are attempts to exercise congressional oversight to see what's going on, to see that the federal officers are behaving properly, to see that the immigrants are getting the proper legal rights observed. That's the purpose of these visits.
I would add, the reason for constitutional duty to conduct oversight is to bring transparency about what any administration is doing as it relates to the execution of the laws and their duties. All we are trying to do is shed some light by using our authority to tell the American public what is going on behind those closed doors. That's our obligation, and that's simply what we're trying to do. That's why we have oversight authority, and begs the question as to why are they not allowing us simply to observe what's going on? What is going on behind those closed doors that they are so afraid of us to see?
What are they hiding?
About the masking of the ICE agents, DHS says that violence against ICE agents is up 400%. Are you not concerned about their safety, their families?
Of course we are concerned about their safety and their families, but I guarantee you that our presence will not increase, the two congressmen's presence will not increase violence against ICE agents. We're not going to...
The political rhetoric on behalf of ICE agents you've got Tim Walz calling them Gestapo and that kind of thing. Does that rhetoric not increase?
no,
Well, no, but that's because they're wearing masks.
That's because...
If they aren't wearing masks, like law enforcement agents don't wear masks. Law enforcement agents take a risk in a dangerous job. These are nonviolent civil cases of immigration. These are not violent criminals. These are not arrests, criminal arrests. And those are far more dangerous, and those people who they're arresting are far more dangerous. And they don't wear masks when they do those arrests. So it is not a function of danger that they're wearing these masks. It is a function of intimidation, that they are trying to scare not only the people coming to court, but the entire immigrant communities that come to this country to seek the American dream, as so many of our ancestors have.
It's
Can you
just talk
you
about?
guys-
Thank you. Can you talk about whether you sort of see these confrontations that are happening, not just here in New York City yesterday with the comptroller? You did just have a somewhat amicable but a confrontation with the field deputy ICE director, asking him these questions that you guys have. Do you see that as sort of the only resort as Democrats right now to kind of seek out these confrontations
No, I said that our other resort right now is to go to court because they are denying our legal right as guaranteed by Section 527 of the immigration law. Now, we are seeing Gestapo tactics, whether it's the shackling of a controller lander, or Senator Padilla was simply trying to ask a question of Secretary Noam, or when the ICE agents broke into my office and shackled a young staff member in my office and took her to the jail downstairs. We are seeing a lot of, for no reason at all. They simply, my staff member simply asked, do you have a warrant? They said, we don't need a warrant, which is not true. It's a congressional office, a co-equal branch of government. They certainly did need a warrant, but they barged in, pushed the young woman, a petite young woman, and she may have touched the officer in falling back, and they said, okay, you're under arrest for assaulting a federal officer, which is ridiculous, but they shackled her, they took her downstairs to the jail, and it was only when I got there that I was able to resolve the situation and get her released. But she was shaken. I mean, this poor young girl was shaken.
I would just add, one response to your question. No.
That Trump appears to be pushing his boundary as well.
The Constitution provides Congress as an independent body with oversight authority. The Republicans in Congress are not agents of Donald Trump. They are independent elected officials who have an obligation to conduct oversight over this administration. That's what they were elected to do by their constituents. If they are not satisfying their duty, if they're not upholding their individual independent obligations, then you all should be asking them, why not? Why do you allow for this administration to so clearly misinterpret the law to prevent us, with the same authority that they have, from observing ICE detention facilities? And it begs the question, how far down this rabbit hole do they want to go? Because the shoe will be on the other foot at some point.
And they have the duty that Congressman Goldman was describing, but they're acting in effect as agents of the administration.
What do you say to people who are really disenchanted with the Democratic Party, who feel like Democrats are not standing up? You said initially when I asked you, what is your next course of wait until you have a majority in Congress, and then Congressman Goldman said, well, we can go to court, and it just
I
seems
said
like,
we can go to court.
yes, after Congressman Goldman said that, and it seems like there is really no forward thinking, because we've all seen what has been happening here and around the country, and the way ICE agents have been treating elected officials, and it seems like nobody is really thinking ahead. Okay, are we consulting with attorneys? Are we looking at our next steps? It just seems disingenuous.
We are certainly consulting with attorneys. We are holding demonstrations. You saw the 5 million person march the other day. We've been demonstrating. I've demonstrated outside the Department of Justice office in Washington, and we are doing what we can in Congress. We're doing everything possible that we can do. We do not have a majority in either house that limits what we can do, but we are doing everything possible. And of course, people are very frustrated because they don't see results. But results are very difficult to get when you have a terrible administration and a terrible Congress that acts as an agent of the administration. But we're laying the foundations.
How can you say that Americans wait for the Democratic majority when the Democratic Party's approval ratings have been down?
Just to be clear, I did not say that.
And the Democratic Party's approval ratings are down, I think, because a lot of people think we ought to be doing more, not because they don't like what we're doing. They don't see what we are doing because a lot of it is just not seen. But and we have no intention of waiting for the next Congress. We're doing things now. Congressman Goldman and I are here today. We're going to court shortly. This is not 2 years from now.
Other than a lawsuit or waiting 2 years, what can Americans expect in the immediate term?
Look, we get this question a lot, and it's a fair question, and we understand the frustration. We feel the frustration. That's why we are continuing to escalate our efforts to get to the bottom of this and to get this administration to follow the law. We are here today. We made an advanced request, even though we do not have to under the law. They denied our request based on what we just learned is a blatant misinterpretation of the law. So now we will go back. We will go to Washington. We will bring this to our Republican colleagues who are in the majority and who have subpoena power. Let's not forget. So the question is a legitimate question. It should be asked of us, but it must also be asked of Republicans. Why do they not care that this administration is violating the law? All right, thank you.
Thank you.